over there, you're probably thinking, oh, man, what kind of outfit we got here? But again, very honored. I'm blessed. Our coaching staff is blessed to have these guys this year, and for these seniors, we'll truly miss you. But I'm gonna let Hayden say just a couple words because he's been nervous for about a week. So we're gonna see how well that communication class came into effect at Jeff City High School. So Hayden, you're up, buddy.
I just want to thank you guys. We're very honored for this. We've worked really hard to get to where we are, and we just want to thank you guys, and that's about it.
Congratulations, everyone. Any council comments before anyone like to say anything on Councilman Schreiber?
As a proud J from class of 1964, I'm extremely proud of you all. And you bring a great deal of honor to our community with your sportsmanship and your fantastic ability to play baseball. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Congratulations. I know you all have a very busy night ahead, and you have the championship. Oh, Councilman Kemna here.
Yeah. Also, I know the kids did a lot, but I know several of the coaches, and I know they worked a really long time and hard for this too. So I just want to thank them for all the work that they did as well.
Thank you, coaches. Fantastic. Well, very proud of all of you. You have made your city very proud, and it is our honor to have you here. This is a very exciting night, and we wish you all well in the future, and very exciting. Of course, as I said, I'm a J, class of 90, so had to dig out my yearbook because the first time that they had won a state championship was 1989 right here, so I brought it with me, and how cool now that we can celebrate in 2017. So you will definitely go down in history, and we're very proud of you and very thankful, and congratulations. And I know you have a parade tonight, 7:30, going through downtown following the homecoming parade route. So starting at St. Peter's and going around High Street around the Capitol, and I believe a pep rally following tonight. So after council, we're all going to rush downtown and cheer for the Jays. So thank you very much. And on your way out, maybe how about all the council? Let's all do some high fives on your way out the door. All right, high five the team. You can come behind, you can come this way, and we'll get everybody. Because it's not that often we get to do this with a championship team. So isn't this how they do it in baseball? Woo! Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you. And why don't I leave that with you, too? I almost kept it here. Congratulations. Congratulations, guys. High five. Congratulations. Thank you. Congrats. Congratulations. Great job, everybody. Awesome. Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations, everyone. Congratulations. So happy for you. Great work. There you go. Congratulations. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, that was pretty cool. Congrats to them. It's like our own pep rally at City Hall. So, all right, item 4A. Now we would like to introduce recognizing Glenna Vernon as Employee of the Month for June. And City Administrator Steve Kroll will make our presentation.
And I'm going to invite Glenna up and her supervisor, Matt Marash, director. So come on up. So congratulations to Glenna Vernon, City of Jefferson Transit Department Administrative Assistant, for receiving the City of Jefferson Outstanding Employee Service Award for June 2017. The recognition is not only for the specific examples referenced in the nomination form, but also in recognition of all the service Ms. Vernon provides to the citizens of the City of Jefferson on an ongoing basis. So some of the information I'll paraphrase from the nomination form include the following. Ms. Vernon has a fantastic work ethic and is always willing to pitch in and help with anything when needed. One of the more recent examples of her work ethic was her work on the upcoming triennial Federal Transit Administration Audit Review. Ms. Vernon compiled voluminous amounts of information from all the departments at the city for an upcoming federal audit of the city's transit system. Just compiling the information was a multi-month process for which she did a great job keeping all the departments' information organized and transmitting that information to the Federal Transit Administration. Ms. Vernon has a great rapport with transit customers and treats others with respect and dignity regardless of the situation. Her get-the-job-done attitude is a tremendous asset to the Transit Division. Ms. Vernon goes above and beyond by helping employees understand the wellness program, by assisting employees to submit wellness points, sharing upcoming activities, events, and encouraging participation in the wellness program. As a result, she has helped make positive changes in the wellness program. Ms. Vernon has a very positive and fun personality and brings energy and happiness to those around her. Ms. Vernon's significant contributions to the overall quality of life of the city is recognized and appreciated. So congratulations and thanks to Glenna Vernon, City of Jefferson Transit Department Administrative Assistant, on receiving the City of Jefferson Outstanding Employee Service Award for June 2017.
Congratulations.
Glenna, you have somebody here you want to introduce?
My husband, Don, my parents, more
Oh, good. Oh, great. Welcome.
Yeah, I made a little trip.
Well, so proud of you, and thank you for all of your work. Appreciate it all. Thank you. The mayor's got something for you there.
Glenna's making her thank yous here. I want to take a moment to thank Glenna. I've known you for many years and appreciate what you've done for the city, and you've definitely worked very hard. Like Steve mentioned, the ways that you've made the city better, it's definitely noticed, and we are honored and thankful to have you as an employee and really appreciate what you do and keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Glenna. All right. Thank you very much, and thank you to your family and friends that are here as well. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations, Glenna. And now we have item B, introductions of interns. And Mrs. Strope is going to introduce our interns.
Oh, you can just kind of stand back here first. All right, Thank you. I have the privilege this evening to introduce to you, actually I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but to introduce to you our interns for this summer. As all of you probably recall, this is a program that you added to the budget for this fiscal year. Our interns started with us late May, and they work through the end of July, working full-time. And each of them are assigned to work in the departments in their field of study. They do that Monday through Thursday. And on Fridays, they have the opportunity to rotate around and visit all the different city departments. So this gives them the opportunity throughout the summer to, one, gain a lot of experience in their field of study, but also by the end of the summer to have a really great understanding of the city, what we do, and kind of how we operate. So we've already enjoyed having them on board here. This is what, third week, fourth week? 3-4 weeks with us already. Some of you have probably seen some of them at some of the meetings that you've been to, and you will hopefully continue to do so through the end of July. So with that, I'm going to ask each one of them to just tell us their name and what school they go to and what area they're working in.
Hello, I'm Justin Bax. I work over at the Jefferson City Police Department, and I attend William Woods University.
And I'm Grant Harmon. I go to Lincoln University, and I'm in IT.
I'm Andrew Bernicke, work with Parks and Rec. I go to school at Central Missouri.
I'm Carly Rinkmeyer. I go to Lincoln University, and I'm with Planning and Protective Services, HR, and Administration.
Hi, I'm Justin Schumann. I go to State Tech, and I'm with Public Works.
I'm Carson Mueller. I go to Truman State, and I'm in exercise science, and I'm with Parks and Rec.
I'm Ethan Lesko. I work at the wastewater treatment facility, and I go to Southern Illinois.
I'm Carly Potts. I go to Lindenwood University, and I'm with Parks and Rec at the Ice Arena.
Welcome, everyone. We're really glad to have all of you here serving the city, and we appreciate what you're doing and learning, and the amount of work is really helpful, what you're able to give to the city, and then we also hope that you go away with some great, valuable experience, too. But we're really the ones that are the ones that get to win, because we get to gain your young energy here in the city, and so we're very fortunate to have you, and it's great for council, because I know they've been very supportive of the programs, so appreciate having you all here. Does council have any questions? Councilman Graham?
Just one question of Southern Illinois, which one? All right, I went to Edwardsville, but all right.
Any other council comments? Well, let's do a quick picture. I know that when I got to introduce myself, they learned they would get a selfie with the mayor at the council meeting, so we're going to do that tonight too. So. We'll get a real one and then
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Great. Okay, now I'm pretty good at this, so. Item 5, we have a public hearing, and Mr. Sanders is going to, well, I guess we should start by reading the bill. Why don't we have Mrs. Powell read Bill 2017-19?
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, changing, amending, and modifying the zoning map of the zoning code of the City of Jefferson by rezoning 3.25 acres of land addressed as 1732 and 1736 Veith Drive from RS2 single-family residential to PUD planned unit development, and approving a preliminary PUD plan for said property.
Mr. Sanders?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As the clerk indicated, this is a rezoning from single-family RS2 to a Plan U development zoning, and also there's an adjoining preliminary PUD plan, and it's for two pieces of property on the west side of Veith Drive at 1732 and 1736. The bill was introduced in 2 weeks ago on June 5th, and it was before the Planning and Zoning Commission on May 11th. The property, if you can see here on the map, kind of orient you, Route C is at the bottom, and Veith Drive comes up past the convenience store, the water district, and the property is located about 250 feet north of Colonial Hills, just south of J.C. Manor. If you go a little bit further north, Veith will turn into Satinwood right at Cedar Hills Elementary School, and there's also another church up there too. So you can also see a little bit of St. Mary's over there, their parking lot to the northeast or the upper left. The zoning in this area, there we go. It's kind of hard to see the colors, but there is a red line delineating the RS4 and the RS2. This property and the property to the north and a lot of the property, when it was annexed in 1968, came in as residential and has never really been changed. So that J.C. Manor's been there. Several of the other institutional facilities that are along Veith Drive are also in an RS2 zoning. So what they plan to do with the PUD component of it is it's a skilled nursing center with approximately 12 beds. That building would be about 8,000 square feet. Another building is a daycare of about 65,000 square feet. It would be licensed ultimately for up to 99 children. And then there's a third building back behind the skilled nursing center that would be a maintenance building. They're designing it with adequate parking. The Planning and Zoning Commission required them to have some conditions such as signing and lighting to meet the commercial office category. So the property is actually going to be owned ultimately by the same folks that own J.C. Manor, and it's going to function as an addition to the manor. They plan to have it operate as one facility. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed it. The proper public notice went out to property owners within 185 feet. It was posted on the internet and also in the News Tribune. There's an engineering report that I would probably acquiesce to Public Works, but offhand it indicated that the driveway site distance is adequate. The road is a major collector and designed for the expected type of traffic. The amount of additional traffic is estimated between 86 and 91 extra cars a day. A lot of the people visiting the daycare would probably be actually going to the elementary school, either dropping one child off one place and one to the other. The Planning and Zoning Commission, they made a motion to approve, and it passed 8-0 back in May 11th, and bringing it forward for the council's endorsement. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions of council at this time? Okay. We will open the public hearing for Bill 2017-19. So at this time, I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak? Do we have anyone here on behalf of the project that would like to speak? Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Paul Sampson, Central Missouri Professional Services, 2500 East McCarty Street, and I'm here today representing Cindy Juckett on this matter. Before the meeting, I did hand out some aerials and some exhibits of the proposed project. The first sheet would be the site plan, and I think we've got it up on the screen also. The second sheet is the floor plan and the building elevations for the proposed preschool facility. As Sonny mentioned, the Jucketts are part owners of the Jefferson City Manor residential care facility, which is located just to the north of the subject property. The proposed development on this tract includes a preschool, a skilled nursing facility, and a maintenance building. The preschool will be licensed up to a maximum of 99 children, aged infant through, I believe, age 12. The preschool will be located on the south side of the property, approximately 6,500 square feet. Just to the north of the building would be an outdoor play area for the older children, fenced in. On the south side of the property, there'll be a concrete play area for toddlers so that they can go outside. The Jucketts would really like to use the proximity of the daycare to the existing residential care facility in order to facilitate visits between the preschool children and the nursing home residents. They've seen this in action in other communities, and it's a very positive experience for both the children and for the residents. The skilled nursing facility is about 8,500 square feet, located on the east side of the property closest to Veith Drive. It will be a 12-bed facility, and this will be specializing in hospice care. This would be I think it's one of very few hospice facilities that's not located inside of a hospital. And again, this would be an extension of the existing services that they're already offering at the Jefferson City Manor. And then just across the driveway and parking lot from the nursing facility would be the maintenance building that would be able to serve all three facilities. Some of the items on the site plan that I would call attention to will be providing parking lots on the site for the preschool and the residential care facility, the hospice house, as well as additional parking for Jefferson City Manor. due to the visits and things like that to the residents. Occasionally there is some parking on Veith Drive, even though parking is prohibited directly in front of their facility. They did add a new parking lot on the west side of the facility last year, which has helped alleviate some of that. There'll be additional parking on this site as well. Stormwater from the new development will all be routed to a stormwater detention and water quality basin on the northwest corner of the property. This will be at this time we think it will be a wet basin, a pond, again to meet water quality and stormwater detention requirements. And they'll also use that as an outdoor classroom with trails and things like that around the pond, and that will be fenced to provide security to that. Just to the south of the preschool will be a 25-foot buffer yard between the facility and the adjacent remaining residential zone properties, and that is required by code. At the planning and zoning meeting, there was a few items that came up as concerns from some of the residents, and I'd just like to address a couple of those right now. The first issue was concern about increased traffic on Veith Drive. Currently, the traffic counts from the city on Veith Drive are about 1,340 vehicles per day. Prior to the 179 extension, which was constructed in the early 2000s, Veith Drive was one of the major north-south connectors through the city. At that time, traffic counts on Veith Drive were as high as 5,000 vehicles per day. So with the even with the additional traffic going to the new site, the traffic on Veith Drive is probably going to be a third of what it was back in the early 2000s. One of the other issues that was brought up was the additional driveway on Veith Drive to serve the site. There was some concern that that would cause a danger to children walking from the Colonial Hills neighborhood to Cedar Hills School. There are existing sidewalks on the west side of Veith Drive, and the new driveway would be constructed in order to accommodate the existing sidewalks. Currently, children walking to Cedar Hills School already have to cross Yorktown Drive and Colonial Hills Drive, and children in the new Loggy Ridge subdivision, which is about maybe a half a mile south of here, there are no sidewalks on the east side of the road, so they already have to cross Veith Drive. All of these streets have much higher volumes than will be anticipated coming from the new preschool. And again, Sonny mentioned the site distance for the new driveway. It has been measured in the field and is adequate for a 35-mile-an-hour design speed. Mrs. Juckett is going to speak to their vision of how they see this facility operating, but I would answer any questions from the site plan side of it.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson. Any questions at this time? Councilwoman Ward.
Good evening.
Hi.
It was mentioned at the Planning and Zoning meeting. I know there was some discussion regarding the one play area. I know it was the toddler play area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if they were aware of at the time that they raised concern that it was a toddler area. But the home closest to that, it was discussed that perhaps that could be moved so there wouldn't be as much noise. I don't know if that's still a concern now that it's a toddler area.
Right. We haven't had any really further discussions with that. After the Planning and Zoning meeting, we did meet with Mr. Gill, and I think it's his mother's house. But we have met with him, and as we go through the detailed design process, we will get him involved and make sure that he doesn't have any concerns with that. And it's potentially we could move the building slightly farther to the north in order to increase that separation distance, or we could increase the amount of tree plantings and things of that nature.
If I may also address that, this is a preliminary plan, so they're going to have to go through the Planning and Zoning Commission and bring it back here with their final design. So they do have time to reevaluate that and get more input.
Any further questions at this time?
I have one other question.
Councilman Graham.
I know also at that same P&Z meeting, there was also a concern with Mr. Gill and the parents about the tie-in to the sewer.
Mhm.
What came out of that discussion?
Again, we met with Mr. Gill directly after the meeting, and there is an existing sewer line, private sewer line, that connects to his mother's house. The city sewer main lies just north of the proposed preschool, and I think his lateral is underneath where the building would be. So during the detailed site plan development, we will relocate his sewer lateral around the outside of where the proposed building would be, and potentially even dedicate a private easement to legalize their current situation.
Further questions, comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Sampson, did you say there was somebody next that was going to present on? Okay, welcome. Yes.
Hi, Cindy Juckett, 729 Highland Ridge Drive, Jefferson City. I wanted to talk a little bit first about the hospice house. We're not adding beds to like the community. At the last meeting, people were like saying how many beds are in the community, how many nursing homes. We're using beds we already have available, just moving them from the nursing home to the hospice house. So we're not increasing the amount of beds in town, if that's a concern to people. The separate facility, our director of operations has been a nurse before in the hospice area, and it's just something that she really would like to have, just privacy. My grandma had to be in a home, not ours. We didn't have room at the time. And, you know, she passed away. Hospice nurse got fired in the middle of the whole deal because it was a ridiculous, like she didn't know what she was doing. And then when she passed, they just closed the door, and not one person came to check on her, you know, and residents, her roommate couldn't go in. These will all be private rooms at the hospice center. So it was really sad, and the people taking my grandparents had to drive 3 hours because she was going to be buried down south, and so we sat there to make sure her roommate didn't go in. No nurses' aides, nobody came by to check that nobody was going in, as she was, you know, already deceased. And so the privacy of it is important on my part as well. She was in the memory care wing as well, so these people are confused, and it was hard to sit for 3 hours waiting for somebody to pick her up, and nobody at the facility cared. So we don't do that at ours, but it's still not very private. And we would have just separate rooms, individual rooms, and everybody would be going through the same situation that are at the hospice center. So it just kind of made sense to us to cut some of our beds at the skilled facility and just move them over and just make it a little more pleasant if it could be. So that's our main thing for that. I think that's all I have on the hospice house. So does anybody want to ask questions first?
Any questions at this time? Okay. Thank you very much.
And then I will do the preschool. We visited a place in St. Louis, and the bigger cities have this already, where usually some of them have the daycares in the facility. And so, you know, the suburb areas, they don't, one, have the funds to do so, and nobody's really building new facilities. You're just dealing with what you have in the old facilities. So my idea was to have the academy so that they can interact. And visiting in St. Louis, just a story real quick, a little boy had lost his two grandfathers in a month. And I was with him, and it was the memory care unit that these little ones were working with, and they're playing games and stuff. And he just told this little guy in a wheelchair, he said, "I know you're not my grandpa, but I love you like you're my grandpa." And it melted my heart. And later I found out why he said that. It's because he lost his both grandfathers. So, and the little guy, of course, being in memory care, he just looked at him and grinned, you know, what was he going to say? But, and then I went to the other part where it wasn't memory care, it was just regular care, and they had a ball. The kids were singing songs from back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and the residents were singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star and some new stuff. So they all worked together really well, and just the smiles and all of that. And plus, for daycare, it's hard for our employees to find daycare, keep daycare, pay for daycare. And I wanted that to be part of my program, is that our staff could have free daycare for their kids. It would keep them from calling in, we could do nighttime care if we had to for the late shift, just different things like that. And just to interact the residents with the families. And the hospice house could also, if they had little kids and that were visiting a hospice resident, they could use our facility if they needed to, use the playground, do whatever they needed to do, give everybody a break, or just go out and walk around through our paths that we're going to make, things like that. So that's my idea of both of those facilities working with the existing Jeff City Manor. That's kind of what I want to do. So.
Great, thank you. Any questions at this time? All right, thank you very much. And we have the public hearing open. Is there anyone else here this evening that would like to speak on this item? Welcome, and then if you could just state your name for the record.
I'm Laura Hewitt. I live at 1729 Veith Drive. And I am opposed to the rezoning of 1732 and 1736. A daycare. Doesn't that sound nice? A daycare. A daycare for 99 children called Wisdom Woods Daycare. Imagine 16 toddlers, ages 3 to 4 years old, riding scooters, trikes, on a concrete slab, which they will pour 25 foot from the south property line, and west on 5 backyards on Independence Drive. Besides the other 70 and 80 children playing outside during the day. Imagine the noise and the slides, the swings, the playhouses. Those daycare yards look like junk yards. And a speed bump was talked about at the last meeting on May the 10th to slow down the cars in their driveway. Then while the cars are slowed down for that, they will be backed up on Veith Drive waiting to turn in. And that's an accident waiting to happen. There are school buses picking up students at Cedar Hill Road from 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. every day, and also in the evening. And then there's a Cedar Hill school children that are walking to school. There are this many homes in the Colonial Hills subdivision. That is just the first section. This is the second section. The third section. Single-family homes. And there are this many homes, single-family homes, that are 185 foot from the residents that had to be notified about this rezoning. The Planning and Zoning Committee conducted a traffic and sightline study for the 1736 driveway. It was all safe and approved. On page 2 of the preliminary PUD narrative, it states, the use of the existing J.C. Manor driveway is necessary due to lack of sight distance along the remainder of Veith Drive frontage. The use of the existing J.C. Manor driveway is necessary due to the lack of sight distance along the remainder of Veith Drive frontage. Can it be both approved and due to lack of? The driveways from Colonial Hills Road, that's 1803, 1800, 1729, 1736, and 1720 are only 376 feet from Colonial Hills to the J.C. Manor. That's 6 driveways in that distance. On-street parking on Veith Drive, which was approved. Cars and school buses 30 miles an hour on that curve with cars parked on street. It is not safe. They plan to scrape those 3.25 acres and build 3 buildings that look like horse barns. That's what that looks like. The amount of traffic generated by those businesses is astounding. Employees going to work and those that are ending their shifts. Now they are proposing a daycare, 99 children, Wisdom Woods, a 12-bed nursing home. I guess it'll be J.C. Manor 2, and an additional 100 cars twice a day. That is their count. Food trucks, bread trucks at 4 o'clock, because I know I live close enough. Medical supply trucks, garbage trucks, both blue and white.
Mrs. Hewitt,
There's
the
the fire
5
trucks.
minutes is up, so if you could wrap up, that would be great. Thank you.
Can I say something else?
You can wrap up.
Why would the Planning and Zoning Committee recommend approval of the proposed rezoning? Shouldn't they just present the facts and let the city council and the homeowners make that decision? The rezoning from R2 single-family residential to PUD planned unit development will be the long-term effect on our property values. There is a reason zoned single-family residence, because that is what is there, and it should be kept that way. Is the city council to just agree with the planning and zoning study?
Thank you, Mrs. Hewitt.
Oh, I got one more line.
Okay.
Or vote for what is best for the neighborhood? You should represent the folks that brought you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hewitt. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Anyone else here to speak this evening during this public hearing? Okay, we have 2, so, okay. Welcome. If you would just state your name for the record.
My name is Susan Atkinson, and I live at 1803 Beef Drive, and my husband and I are both opposed to the rezoning of 1732 and 1736. We live on a street that already has heavy traffic. Beef Drive is a straight path to Walmart and Cedar Hill School if you're coming from south of town, and there's a nursing home that also generates traffic. Cedar Hill is about a half mile from the proposed rezoning site, the site where children use to walk to and from school on the same side as the entrance to the rezoning area. And I know they said, well, they cross this, this, and this, but this is just one more place they should cross. And what about people that have dropped off kids that are late to work? They're going to be zooming out of there trying to get where they're supposed to be going. And this doesn't account for us poor schmucks that live in the area and have to back out during this time. I avoid backing out, like when Cedar Hill school buses are coming, when school's out, when school's going in the morning. Anyway, when we back out of our driveway at 1803, there's a blind spot in a dip north of our house. And I'm sure Mrs. Hewitt would have the same thing, except just the opposite way. So we have I know if you're coming out of that 1736, there's no blind spot for you, but we people that have lived there for, well, me, it'll be 48 years in July, it's something to consider. And traffic tends to speed up on the straight stretch after leaving the school area. I don't know why. But you can just ask the police department, because police sit at the entrance to the South Ridge Baptist Church in an effort to catch speeders. And this is a pretty common thing, and they do catch speeders there. So that alone tells you that we have traffic that's driving too fast in the area. Maybe it's not as much traffic as we had before 179, but we have plenty of traffic. And it's going to be horrible for us people that live across the street from it and have to back out into this. So, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Thank you very much. And I believe we have another guest. Welcome. If you would just give us your name for the record.
My name is Todd Mayfield, and I live at 1526 Timber Trail. I just, at this point, I feel that I have to go on the record and say that I too am opposed at this juncture at adding more pavement and removing large areas of landscape there in that area due to the potential stormwater issues. And I know that they are addressed potentially, but they also were addressed at the Loggy Ridge subdivision as well. And if any of you would go and look at that, the way that area has been addressed, there is a retention pool there that catches about, I would say, less than 40% of the amount of water that is generated as runoff in that subdivision. If you would come, the majority or the rest of that water actually goes unabated into a creek bed that ends up in my backyard and ultimately in my garage and then underneath my house. And so I think before we go adding more potential runoff and stormwater, especially in this particular area of Jefferson City, that we need to address the current issues that are there. And this is obviously an ongoing issue that has been, you guys are well aware of. And I don't know exactly how this one would affect it. It will be the areas on the other side, particularly I would think, and Mr. Gill has been here and spoke about this as well, but this would go, end up, it looks like, right in where Satinwood and West Edgewood, where Stadium meet, where we've had a couple instances just in the last year. My house has been underwater 3 times within a 9-month period, the last one being just this past March and starting with last July. And so anyway, I just think that before we go and start adding more commercial property in this area, we need to look long and hard at the stormwater issues that are existing there before we start clearing off more land and overtaxing an already very much overtaxed, or adding more additional stormwater to an overtaxed stormwater system. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Is there anyone else here this evening to speak on Bill 2017-19? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. There is. Welcome.
Thank you. Glenn Costalis, and I live on Veith Drive, and the impervious materials that are going to be there are going to increase the flood problem down at the end of the street. And Carlos has been to the homes down there for some meetings, and so has Matt. That's a huge problem there. The traffic, probably, I would guess, coming out of there with 99 kids in there and 12 beds, probably close to 300 cars a day or more in and out, because the daycare is going to have a staff from early in the morning, late at night. They're not going to work them from opening to close, so they're going to have shift change. Even if you look at 1.5 kids a car, that's 66 trips twice a day there. Plus, if they're pulling them out for doctor's appointments, service vehicles, delivery vehicles, ambulances in for the hospice, going in and out, the families visiting there. It is a dangerous curve. I walk it all the time, and if it's icy, snowy out, rainy, I try to get past that section, because there used to be a huge brick entrance sign down there for Colonial Hills. It was taken out by a car that did not make it on the curve. And it happens all the time further down by the school. There's another curve down there about the same, that cars run off the road all the time. And I think we need to really you guys need to look real hard at the safety aspect for the young ones that don't look both ways. They're in a hurry to get from A to B. And being a bicyclist, I know not to get out there when parents are trying to take their kids to school or pick them up, because they're trying to get the kids in the back seat settled down, fed, talking on the phone, and get somewhere, and they're not paying attention to what's going on around them. And have fun on the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Anyone else here to speak? All right, at this time then I'll close the public hearing portion, and we will take up 2017-19. Is there any council discussion or deliberation? Councilman Graham?
Councilman Mahalovich, I yield the floor to you
Mahalovich.
first.
Okay, and then Councilman Graham.
Was the comprehensive plan amended, or does the PUD essentially substitute that process?
There is not a comprehensive plan amendment with this. No, the PUD addresses that.
So, this neighborhood didn't foresee this kind of change. It had to come through. If they didn't try to do a PUD, we'd be modifying the comprehensive plan, correct?
If they went to like commercial or something like that,
Yeah.
I believe they would.
Okay.
Councilman Graham?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I will say that I've had the opportunity to meet with the families who live in that area. As a matter of fact, I also live in that area. And I do witness the children who are walking on the west side of the street to Cedar Hill School. That is a lot of children that's taking that route. When they start up from off of South Ridge, from those apartment complexes up there, and having to walk. There are police officers, the cars that's there at South Ridge Church, as well as in the Colonial Hill entranceway, to make sure that the speeders are not speeding down the street, and also to make sure that the kids are crossing the street in a safe manner. In that curve right there, and putting additional 99 children in there for daycare, to me is very problematic. I do have some grave concerns about that, about the amount of traffic it's going to put in that corridor there, and not even to address the stormwater issues that Mr. Mayfield brought up. But that is a very serious concern, and with the kids walking to that school in that area, I'm hoping that you will vote no on this rezone. I'm not against the project itself. I think it's a great project, but in that area, I'm certainly against that. And it's for the safety of those children that's walking to and from that school. If you want to get a chance firsthand to see it, I would say come out there and you can see it. Even during summer school, police officers are out there because of the amount of children that's taking that route. So I will be voting no tonight.
And I want to mention one thing. I noticed on the sign-in sheet, I want to make sure I didn't miss somebody. You don't have to sign in for the public hearing portion, but there's maybe a John Juckett. So, John, you had signed up. Did you want to speak tonight? Okay, sorry. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody this evening, so thank you. Any further, Councilman Prather?
I just had a question for staff. It was mentioned about the water runoff, and could you comment on that, if it will create a worse problem than we have, or will it help, or just going to address that for me, please?
Yeah, the goal of the stormwater basin, the site-specific stormwater basins, is to control the water from the site, and so there'll be a detention aspect and a water quality aspect, and when we throw in the water quality aspect, it will actually further choke the water down than our detention requirements. Now, the purpose of it isn't to be a regional basin to affect the flow at Stadium and Satinwood, that's true, but it's more immediately downstream, and so our engineer's been out, looked at the houses downstream and the receiving pipes and inlets to ensure that the basin would be designed to accommodate those pipes.
And Councilman Mahalovich?
That was one of my questions. The last question I have is, to what degree has the developer met with the residents to minimize some of these concerns? Is there any, I may have to call back up the Central Missouri Professional Services.
Mr. Sampson, would you be able to answer that question?
Thank you very much. To answer your question as far as meeting with neighbors and things like that, to me, I think it's really a perception issue. I don't know that there's anything as far as from a site design standpoint that could be done to change things. We've placed the entrance in the best location possible to get the maximum site distance for that entrance. Sidewalks already exist on the west side of Veith Drive. Yes, there's an extra location to cross, but again, the people that are dropping their children off they've all are parents and all have children, and I would think that those people would be more apt to be cautious of where they're going. I will mention that the Juckets in their operation of the daycare center will be walking their children to school and back from school, supervised by a teacher. Obviously, Mrs. Juckett has mentioned at the planning and zoning meeting that they're not just going to watch out for their children from their center whenever they're walking the kids back and forth from school. If there's other kids that are in the, walking along at the same time, they'll obviously make sure that they're got to school safely. But again, there are sidewalks on Veith Drive. Again, I think it's really a perception issue on whether there's a safety issue there or not.
Well, perception might have been alleviated with a developer meeting with a group. Was there a developer meeting with a group?
There was not a developer meeting with the group. Any safety precaution that would be taken as far as adding sidewalk is already in place.
Thank you. And I know we had Councilman Hussey and then Councilman Henry.
I guess I have a question for staff. RS2 is what it's currently zoned. What would be the parameters on what somebody could currently construct on that site?
There was actually that discussion at the planning and zoning meeting, and some rough calculations. I believe they were talking about 10 to 12 possible houses being built there that may have similar type of traffic volumes given the size of the house and number of bedrooms and the number of cars. And I don't know how that might impact stormwater compared to this preliminary PUD plan.
But those are actions that could be taken by a
Right
developer,
now.
and there's not necessarily a neighborhood covenant or anything that would restrict the style, look, size of the homes either?
No, just our zoning code.
Okay. And I would assume if somebody were constructing in there, they would have to also construct an inlet-outlet road as well. Like, you wouldn't necessarily have houses fronting to Veith Drive. You'd probably have a little road that went in and built that way, and so you could end up with the same issue where a developer could move forward right now, build an entrance point, and then build homes off a road. You'd have the traffic flow, correct?
A builder could build a subdivision that makes traffic worse, but I think as they go through the development process, city staff would make recommendations for what they can do. But generally, yes.
It related to the current site plan. Is it possible, or is it just kind of one of our requirements to have that other exit entrance down there on Veith Drive? Is the existing entrance and exit to the Manor Care insufficient to handle the traffic flow, or do we require that additional one down there by the daycare? Does that make sense? Or could the daycare, hospice home, and Manor Care all share the existing drive that's up on the straightaway?
I do not believe we're the ones requiring. Is Public Works requiring that extra entrance, or is that a design feature for the consultant? Maybe might be a better question for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably more of a design feature. Of course, fire codes and those kind of things would kick in if you have to get a fire truck around the facility. How does that traffic flow? Things of that nature. And again, this is a preliminary plan, be a final plan eventually, but that's probably one of the drivers of it, I would say. And then we also like to see multiple ways in and out anyway, in case something, one were blocked for some reason. Also helps to disperse traffic.
Thanks.
Councilman Henry?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I actually echo the sentiments of Councilman Graham. Primarily for me, I'm really weary about the storm. Obviously, it's been well documented, the stormwater issues in this particular area. I'm really wary of any development, whether it's one such as this or if it's a brand new subdivision with homes in this particular area. I know Matt has given us an explanation on the runoff and how that would take place, but I'm still pretty wary about this until we get some other issues resolved as far as stormwater in that area. So for me, it'll also be a no vote.
Councilman Fitzwater?
Yeah, there was an indication, I guess this is a question for staff, there was an indication there's a substantially less traffic since the advent of 179. Do we know what those numbers are? And then I've got a second question. Within ballparks, I mean.
Yeah, I believe within a ballpark, I think Paul Sampson with CPS stated it was around 5,000 cars a day, as I recall, on V, and now it's down to 1,300-ish range, I believe is what the number is.
And then there was also an indication in regards to traffic stops. Maybe we can't answer that question, but is it folks that are passing through or folks coming out of the manor, out of the current facility, or do we have any handle on who might make up those traffic stops?
Mr. Schrader, Chief Schrader?
No, I couldn't provide any of those figures or statistics or factors. We would probably be able to answer most of those questions if given a little bit of time.
Further council questions, deliberation? Councilman Prather?
What is the current speed limit on that road?
I believe it's 30 miles an hour.
Has any consideration been given into decreasing that speed limit?
Well, our general speed limit in the city is 30 miles an hour, 30 or 40 typically. In a school zone, it drops during school times, and so I'm certain there's a school zone. It isn't enacted this far away yet, but they're more in the proximity of the school.
Yes, the speed limit is 30.
Further questions, deliberation? Okay. Councilman Hussey?
I guess I just have a thought. You talk about this being a preliminary design because it's a PUD, and so it's subject to change, I guess. But what we're being asked is sort of to give our approval to what we see before us, and not necessarily say what we see before us, but we want to see these 3 changes to it or something, right? Am I correct in that statement?
I am sure that your statements will be taken under consideration when they take it back to planning and zoning and start the process again. But yes,
Okay.
You're not approving a final plan. They cannot go ahead with this plan. It is a preliminary plan of this is what we envision right now. So they do have to go back to planning and zoning, and they do have to come back before the council here. So I would think they would be wise in any sort of comments that have been made, try to address those in the site design.
Councilman,
Sort of following up on that, I guess I'm sort of seeing like 3 distinct sort of concerns, opposition expressed by neighbors there. Stormwater, the road and the safety of the road itself, and then just the noise or activity generated on site. It seems to me that stormwater, ideally, we've got a retention basin that sort of takes care of that. Noise, I would assume, I mean, there's ordinances that govern volume of noise in certain times of day, and 12 new residences there could generate a volume of noise as well that could be the same potentially as a daycare, I would assume. I guess I'm hung up a little bit on the safety aspect, and what are some ways, if it were approved, to sort of address some of those concerns. And so I'm just stating these things because you just made the comment for the record, just to make sure that if approved and went forward, that there's a way to make sure that the curve is safe, if it's a speed limit thing, speed bump, signage, whatever the case may be. It seems to me that's the one that stands out most to me as of immediate concern and cause, or gives me pause, I guess, on this matter. Thank you, Mr. Sanders.
Councilman Fitzwater?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. So you would anticipate one of the things they would look at would be the stormwater issue and go back and just make sure they're comfortable with what they propose?
I'm pretty sure they will go back and review every item that was discussed at this council that was a concern to the citizens and that you all provided a question to.
Thank you. Any further questions? Deliberation? Okay. Mrs. Powell, roll call, please.
Fitzwater?
Aye.
Graham?
No.
Henry?
No.
Hussey?
Aye.
Kemna?
Aye.
Mahalovich. Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
No.
Ward.
No.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Passed 6-4. Okay. Before we move forward, too, I want to acknowledge that I believe we have a scout here in the audience tonight. I usually do that at the beginning of the meeting, and I missed that this evening, so it looks like we have some in the back. Would you like to come forward to the podium and give us your name and maybe what school that you go to? And we are glad that you're here tonight. Okay, and if you have a troop number, you can mention that as well. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Zachary Mingwasser, and I'm part of Troop 11, and I'm from Jefferson City. I am from Thomas Jefferson Middle School.
Great.
I'm going into 8th grade, and I am Life Scout rank so far, working on my Eagle.
Fantastic. Welcome. Glad to have you all here.
Hi, my name is Ricky Holt. I just joined Boy Scouts. I am in Troop 11, and I am in Thomas Jefferson Middle School, going to 8th grade, and I'm here to take notes on the council meeting today.
Great, thank you. And you have somebody here with you as well?
Hi, I'm Kevin Mingwasser. I live at 904 Carrie Ann, and these are some of my boys that I take care of in the troop, and we wanted to teach them about how government works, and appreciate your all's time. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And I did want to mention, I know the last bill that just passed, I probably should have said before a lot of them left, but I would strongly encourage staff to work with some of those concerns. It sounds like, Mr. Sanders, you said that you believe the developer will. So as long as you can continue that conversation, that would really be desired, I think, from the comments that you heard tonight from council, to take all those into account.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, item 6, appointments by the mayor. Mrs. Strope, would you like to go over that?
Sure, thank you. We have one appointment to the Historic Preservation Commission, 5 to the Cemetery Resources Board, 3 for the Traffic and Transportation, 1 for the USS Jefferson City Submarine Committee, and 1 for the Housing Authority Board.
Any questions this evening? All right, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for those who serve on our boards and commissions. Item 7, presentations from staff, consultants, and invited guests. We've already taken up the Jays baseball team, and sitting patiently, we have our Salute to America event volunteers. If they would both like to come forward, we have Mr. Dan Rolling, Festival Chair, and Commissioner Chris Shepperly, who is the Salute to America Foundation Chair. So we are glad to have you both here tonight. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm the Salute to America Foundation Chairman this year, and so.
And I'm Dan Rolling, 2017 Salute to America Festival Chairman. Our committee, our foundation, we meet all year long for this festival. This is not just a 4th of July event that we just put together in a couple weeks. We really literally spend all 12 months of the year doing this. So this year is going to be the largest celebration ever. You'll hear in a second how many blocks that we've got covered. It is going to be a busy, fun weekend for the citizens and for any visitors, guests that we have here at 4th of July weekend. So it's going to start off in the prison concert inside the walls on July 1st.
The prison concert?
Excuse
me.
Excuse
the
me.
what?
I didn't realize she was here tonight.
Oh, yeah, there's special appearance tonight
Oh,
at
be
City
darned.
Hall
Well,
by
you
Mayor
just-
Winona.
You just took away my thunder.
Well, we've been practicing. I hope so. I don't think you could pull this off, Dan.
No, that's for sure.
So we have a little entertainment tonight. So Monday night finally came around. This girl's ready to paint the town. Tonight ain't nothing gonna slow us down. I've been working all week long. I've been working my fingers to the bone. It's a girls' night out. Honey, there ain't no doubt. We're gonna dance every night until the boys go home. All right. But wait, there's more. We've been practicing. Watch this. Mama, he's crazy. Crazy over me. All right. And how about, thank you, Grandpa. Tell me about the good old days. I'm not looking at you. You're a grandpa over here, Mr. Graham. Right.
That was last year.
That was last year. Good comeback.
My bad, my
bad. All right. So, at this time, I will turn it over to you for the Salute to America
Jeez,
festivities.
how do you follow that? I don't know. Well, anyway, the prison concert Inside the Walls starts on July 1st. The doors open at 4 p.m. Tickets are on sale for $39 and includes 3 top touring bands plus Winona Judd and her band, The Big Noise. We're off on July 2nd, but on July 3rd, SSM Health Parade starts at 6 p.m. We have a little Mr. and Miss contest for boys ages 4 to 6. We have the Naught Naught Agency Patriotic Ceremony at 7 p.m. and an 8 p.m. free concert on the Capitol lawn with tribute artists Black Diamond and Staying Alive, brought by Midwest Block and Brick and Riley Auto Group. And on the 4th, the festival opens at 11 a.m. and features 17 city blocks. I mean, 17 city blocks. It's just unbelievable how big this is this year. Of activities and events and 7 music stages throughout the district, offering something for everyone. Carnival, sand sculpture, classic car show, beer gardens, food courts, bicycle stunt shows, shopping, reenactors, military displays, live eagle show, and much more. There's another free concert by Midwest Block and Brick and Riley Auto Group on the Capitol main stage featuring the Gin Blossoms. And the highlight is the Red, White, and Boom Fireworks Sky Concert, sponsored by Missouri Credit Union, simulcast on 100.1 Nash FM, featuring giant 16-inch shells, the largest used in the Midwest.
So that's what's going on downtown, but the reason that we're here is to thank you for your support. So we'd like to thank the Jefferson City Parks and Recreation Department, City Hall for accommodating the parade, parking, and the streets departments, fire department, the health department, the GIS department for the new map collaboration, and the Jeff City Police Department who make the event safe. Lastly, we want to thank the City Council for their financial support. The funds support the infrastructure of the event, helping to accommodate 50 to 70,000 people who attend. We couldn't do it without you, so thank you very much.
Well, thank you both for your volunteer efforts. We sure appreciate it, and that's some awesome entertainment. In fact, that is just crazy. Crazy over me. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Winona.
And before we go, of course, we're going to have to get a picture. But I will say, so if council wants to come back here, we'll have you two come forward. But if people want the tickets, this is less than 2 weeks away, folks. We're really getting close. So if you want to come inside the walls and see Winona, go online, salutetoamerica.org. You can buy your tickets there. It's worth it for Winona to come see that inside the walls. We had a tour of the prison last Monday night and got to see the fantastic area and the venue. It's great. That's going to be our future event space, we hope, for more and more events and concerts like this if the community comes out to support. And then those other concerts at the Capitol are just fantastic. People are saying, somebody told me last night, did I dream that, or are the Gin Blossoms really coming to Jeff City? I said, no, you didn't dream that. It really is. So a very exciting lineup, and all the other entertainers, the Bee Gees tribute, the Black Neil Diamond, just really amazing performance. So don't forget, less than 2 weeks away, go online, get your tickets for Winona. Mayor Winona will be there, and we will get a quick picture. Come on, Council.
I made it.
Made to the front. Made to the front.
I did. Oh, that's not us.
That's not us. That's not us.
All right, I'm not. Okay, so now Winona says, where are we here? Item C. We have Jenny Smith, Kathy Bordner, and Jane Beadham regarding the demolition moratorium, invited by council members Prather, Kemna, and Mahalovich. So if those three would like to come forward, welcome.
We have some handouts for you. We're going to start around.
Good evening. I'm Jane Beadham, and we decided that since the 90-day extension that council graciously passed previously is about coming to an end, we needed to come and give you an update of what we've been doing and what we've learned in the past 90 days.
Okay, and thank you. It looks like we have some handouts here, so we'll make sure that Mrs. Powell has a copy for the record. And Ryan, before we start, is there a time frame for this? Is it a 5-minute?
It's 10 minutes for invited speakers.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
All right, and also I believe we had some slides that should be going up. So it's the same information that the audience can follow along the handouts that the City Council has in front of them. So a little bit of an update, what the background is in this neighborhood and what we've done in the last 90 days. This project area starts in the 1960s, actually. Get my stopwatch here. Yeah. All right. And so the Corps of Engineers decided to do a project to help mitigate flooding in this area back in the 60s. And they spent over $1 million back in the 60s when $1 million was a lot of money. And so they really did put Wares Creek in. Okay, appreciate that. Mr. Crowell got my joke. The Wares Creek is a giant concrete ditch in this area. It goes through Lincoln University. It comes in this neighborhood under the Simonson track and over to Highway 50. It's all enclosed in this big concrete ditch. And so the result of this mitigation is this neighborhood hasn't flooded in over 50 years. We've had a lot of stormwater events. You've heard recently about some other houses throughout the city that have had water, and a lot of houses in Jefferson City have water in their basements when we have heavy rain events. We have a lot of hills. So it's a common problem in this area, but this area, the neighbors tell us that the houses have not flooded, and FEMA backs that up because in 93 and 95 they did not make buyout offers to any of these houses. They didn't flood. They didn't need to make the buyout offers. So along comes the Central East Side Neighborhood Plan in 2004, 2005, and that large plan, which covers a lot of things, says this area and some adjacent areas should be developed as open space or green area. In 2009, however, the City of Jefferson acquired 408 Lafayette Street, deciding that they would rehabilitate it. They used HUD monies. They bought the house for about $52,000, and then they spent about $25,000 putting a roof on it to stabilize it so that they would be able to rehabilitate it later on. Following the city's example, one of our property owners bought a nearby house and rehabilitated it, and now we have a young couple living in that house. Along comes 2012, and FEMA has decided
they need to revamp things. So nationwide, they do a lot of changes to floodplain mapping, and they changed the floodplain here in Jefferson City based on information supplied by city staff. And as a result, the city decided that now they've changed their mind about 408 Lafayette and they would demolish it. But we did not know that. What happens is through 2016 and 2017, more city properties are acquired, and it's not until February 2017 when we see the notice in the paper saying the city's going to demolish some of these properties that, you know, the historic preservation community and the property owners in the area are notified that, hey, the city's going to start demolishing houses in your neighborhood. So we, you know, got together, we met with City Administrator Crowell and a number of city staff and FEMA and SEMA and had a lot of meetings which are detailed on this handout, but I won't go through here, and really learned a lot because, you know, these neighbors are really squeezed between the Corps, FEMA, and the city. And that's a lot of government regulations to try and figure out, you know. So over the last 90 days, we've learned several things. One is the risk of flooding in this area is very low because of the mitigation that the Corps did back in the 60s. What really keeps this neighborhood from moving forward is this 50% restriction we discovered has been placed by the city on these homes, meaning that a property owner could only spend on rehab about half of what the current value is determined to be. Well, the city bought two houses for $15,000 together, so their value is about $7,500 a piece. So that means you could spend less than $4,000 each to rehab them. Well, that's not going to get you a roof and a new, you know, hot water heater, much less a new furnace. So that's not enough to rehab them with that restriction in place. The property values in this area are low because it's designated in a floodplain by the city. It has years of neglect in an area where previously black people were restricted to living before the 1960s. And the 50% restriction has prohibited other property owners in the area from investing in their properties. So property values are significantly low. One of the things we learned is that a historic designation for properties in this area would exempt the houses from some of these federal regulations. FEMA has exemptions for historic properties, and so that 50% rule could be lifted. Also, HUD, if the properties are considered historic, would not require a purchaser of the property from the city at 408 Lafayette to pay back the almost $90,000 that's been invested in that property. So there's some benefits of putting a historic designation in place. Now, city staff has said, no, there is a piece of paper that the State Historic Preservation Office has said, no, they're not historic. And that is true, based on the photographs that the city sent to the SHPO, or State Historic Office. Based on that information, the staff said, no, they didn't think they were eligible. So after further research and interviews with people, I went to the SHPO and said, now, based on this new information, would they be considered eligible for the National Register of Historic Places? And they said yes, they thought they would, because there's more information available. And the National Register is a federal program run by the National Park Service. It has guidelines that are fairly thick on how to do it. Basically, I want to show you the notebook here I have. All those pink tabs on there, that is a survey that was done of the east side in 1992, funded partially by the city through a grant. All those pink tabs represent a property that's in the Capitol Avenue Historic District that the survey said were not eligible. Okay, so a survey, think of as a 50,000, flyover view of an area. You don't get a lot of detailed information, but when you do a nomination, you get more details, and so that's how they were able to be listed on the National Register. So just to try and explain that a little bit. But we believe that a local designation could be put in place, which would allow the city to develop a 50% waiver. And there's also some rehabilitation assistance available through the Historic City of Jefferson. I'm chair of their revolving fund committee, and we are currently seeking properties to rehabilitate and have funding to do that. So that might be an option. At this time, any residents that we have in the area, in the audience, would you stand up? What do we have? Residents, property owners? Yeah. Go ahead. All right, now I'd like to invite Kathy Bordner to come up and talk about the Central East Side Neighborhood Plan.
My name is Kathy Bordner, and I live at 718 East Capitol. I was a member of the committee that helped develop the Central East Side Neighborhood Plan, which is right here. And I believe that city staff are moving forward with implementing the part of the plan that says making that area green space. And I would like to point out that this plan was adopted, well, our committee finished in August of 2005, so that was 12 years ago. And before you move forward with implementing any part of this plan, so much time has passed that you need to reevaluate what's happened since the plan was adopted and look at current conditions and determine if you should continue to move forward. You've done that already twice this year when you adopted the Central or the Capitol Avenue rezoning and overlay district. You looked at the current conditions. You did not go strictly by the zoning that this plan suggested. You changed it because we had a recession. It did not make sense to go by what was here, and you made it better. You reevaluated. You're also doing that on the MSP site. You're not going to just say, whatever the master plan says the road should be, that's where we're going to put it. You're not doing that. You're evaluating current situations, and you're changing you're probably going to revise where you're going to put the road. So I would urge you to do that also in terms of implementing this plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think that Jenny Smith is going to speak, or?
And I know you're right at the 10 minutes, so I know, right, it was 7:20 and now it's 7:30, so if you would want to wrap up.
I didn't time it correctly.
Sure. Okay. And Jenny, you're welcome to come forward as well.
I just want Jenny has the photos of the properties.
And you have these in your handout.
In your packet, you have those. So it might help to see the maps and the properties. But we're asking for a couple of things. We have a path forward that we believe will work to resolve this issue. We'd like the city council to extend the deadline to prohibit demolition of these properties and give us a little more time to put some things in place to help us move forward. We'd like to designate the area as a neighborhood conservation district, just like Capitol Avenue Overlay District and the Lower Jefferson Conservation District, following city code. It's outlined here. We need to obtain some data from city staff and work with them to develop a waiver for the 50% rule, and then possibly work toward resale of the properties by the city and Parks and Recreation for rehab purposes. Thank you. Do you have questions? The fourth, okay. Work with city staff and then work toward resale of properties by the city and Parks and Recreation for rehab purposes. See if they'd sell them. Okay, does that help? In the handout. Okay.
Well, I was just going to ask, what kind of extension would you guys need?
It's difficult to say how fast, because we would have to go through planning and zoning and all of that to put a district in place, but I think another 90 days would be reasonable, because I don't want it to last so long that we don't want to drag our feet. We want to keep moving on it.
Yeah, this is for our attorney. When you deal with people's property, that's a pretty high order, and for us to put a hold on demolitions, remind me, did those demolitions involve all of that area or just the properties in question?
The current stay that the council directed is only for properties owned by the city. So there is no delay or any type of stay on demolitions by private property owners on their own private property.
So
it only affects the few properties.
So we can proceed with quite a bit less caution. It's our property.
It's our property, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any other council comments, questions? Okay. Item 8, announcements by mayor, council, and staff. We have our committee meetings at jeffersoncity.mo.gov. The big announcement is that our city council meeting for July 3rd, the next council meeting, will be at 9 a.m. instead of 6 p.m. July 3rd is the day before, of course, the July 4th holiday. So on July 3rd, at 6 p.m. is the 4th of July parade, and then, as they mentioned, that evening is the Black Neil Diamond and the Bee Gees tribute band that evening at the Capitol following the parade. So at 6 o'clock, when we typically would be meeting, everybody will be doing the parade around, starting, I believe it originates here in the City Hall parking lot. So we will not have our council meeting, so please make note that July 3rd, Monday, the council meeting is at 9 a.m. in the council chambers. All right. And Mr. Sanders, you have an announcement on Jeff Tran?
Yes, ma'am. The long-range transportation planning folks in planning is working with Public Works and Jeff Tran. We're doing a system-wide assessment. We're taking a look at such things as service hours, cost, the management behind the scenes, possibilities of what would it cost to provide service outside the area or different hours. So we're asking everybody, whether you ride Jeff Tran, you don't ride Jeff Tran, whether someone that works at a place of employment that serves you may ride Jeff Tran that you don't know about. But a lot of people depend on Jeff Tran, and we're looking for information from people not just inside the city, but also the metropolitan planning area, which is most of Cole County and the southern half of Callaway County. So there's some little cards up here. It has a little QR code and the URL, or feel free just to go to our website. We really want your input.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. My announcements for the evening tonight was the ribbon cutting for the Boys and Girls Club facility on the Lincoln University campus. That was a great partnership from our Parks and Rec department in Lincoln. And they also had Mr. Todd Spalding, the Parks Director, was in attendance, along with Councilman Henry and City Administrator Kroll. Did I miss any? Councilman Graham was there. And, pardon me? Oh, and Councilman Fitzwater, and thank you all for being there tonight. Did I miss any councilmen? But you can still get there this evening, because at 8:30 p.m. they are lighting the beacon of light at the property. So when we leave here this evening, first we'll go to the Jays pep rally, and then head over to the Boys and Girls Club for the beacon of light at 8:30. But they also had Sylvester Williams, the football champion from Jefferson City, and First Lady of Missouri, Sheena Greitens, was also in attendance there. So congratulations to Boys and Girls Club. Last week I welcomed Fire School. We're glad to have them here in Jefferson City. And also last week was the Red Cross 100th anniversary, and they have some great historic vintage artwork on display there, so please check that out during their celebration. I want to wish our dads a happy Father's Day and say that that was a great article, Councilman Fitzwater and your son, Travis Fitzwater. It was a great father-son team, if you didn't see that in yesterday's News Tribune. So kind of a nice way to highlight Father's Day. And Fountain of Hope ceremony is this Wednesday, June 21st at 5:30 in the downtown. That is through our Cultural Arts Commission in the alley. They're doing a fountain to honor cancer awareness in the alley next to Saffy's. And the Missouri Amateur Radio Operators Club is having their annual event this weekend, June 24th, starting at 10 a.m. Saturday, ending Sunday, June 25th at 1 p.m. at the fairgrounds. They have invited any councilmen to attend, council representatives and the public. And a recap, we had a MSP work session here last Monday, had a tour of the site. Great discussion between the city and county. You can check out on the city's website. If you go to jeffersoncitymo.gov, on the front page, it has a copy of the presentation. And you can also link to my blog, mayorturgeon.blogspot, to show some photographs of what the site looks like to give you an idea of the virtual tour. Any other council announcements this evening? Item 9, presentations from the gallery. We have no one further signed up. 10, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 11, bills introduced 2017-24.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending the 2016-2017 budget by reorganizing two positions within the Department of Planning and Protective Services, Planning, MPO divisions.
Mr. Sanders?
Thank you. In the last several months, as you know, one of the planner threes is no longer in that position. That is myself. And in terms of trying to look at efficiencies, let me just get to my graphic here. There we go. On top is our current staffing for the planning division and Campo, which is responsible for long-range transportation planning. There's two planner three positions, and each of those was responsible for each of those divisions. So what we're proposing to do is create one division out of the two of them. One of the main reasons for that is to allow us to flex when needed to work on projects that may have more priority than another. It's really not getting us any extra bandwidth in terms of number of FTEs, staff time and whatnot, but it would give us one manager in charge of both of those two organizations, two divisions, and take one planner 19, elevate it to the planning manager, a 20 salary grade, and take one planner 3, my vacant position, and bring it down to either a planner 1 or planner 2, which is a 16 or 17. There's really no fiscal impact. Actually, there may be some cost savings in the differences in the salary grades going like that. It is something that is not new. We've actually kind of been kicking it around when Janice was still here for the last couple years of, hey, can we not work together better? It's part of my philosophy of not having silos of only one person knowing how to do something, but that will provide us to be able to cross-train some of Eric's duties into some of our other planners and vice versa, make us more fluid and more dynamic and a lot more efficient.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, 2017-25.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a contract with Jefferson City Public Schools for school resource officers.
Chief Schrader.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The agreement before the council involves two parties, the City of Jefferson and the Jefferson City Public School District. The agreement establishes that the police department will provide a school resource officer program for the school district. State law requires that the governing body act on an agreement of this type. Now, although we've had a school resource officer program for many years, there's no evidence that the council ever adopted such an agreement. So it's before you tonight to remedy that oversight. The SRO program has 7 officers assigned to it. Their assignments are listed in your bill summary. The agreement calls for the City of Jefferson and the school district to each pay 50% of the salary of 6 of those school resource officers. The exception is the officer assigned to the academic center, and that's funded fully by the City of Jefferson. The duties of the SRO are reflected in the bill summary. The SROs are subject to supervision and control of the police department. And the police department has the authority to hire, discharge, and discipline the SROs. The estimated cost in the 17-18 fiscal year for the city share is $228,980. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Deliberation?
I have one question.
Councilman Graham?
Chief, in regards to the Academic Resource Center, why are we funding that 100%?
Well, the program has kind of grown over the years. When it first began, there were 2 school resource officers, and then that expanded to 4. Then we had 5, and so the school, we felt a need for that officer. So last year, the school district agreed to pay for a 6th officer while we assumed the 7th. We haven't approached the school district. They've been very agreeable as the program expanded to 6. That's just something we've not approached them about, primarily because they've already agreed to pay for the 6th for last year and this year. We don't know what the future holds.
Any further questions?
Thank you.
All right, 2017-26.
An ordinance amending the code of the City of Jefferson, Missouri by allowing members of the Cultural Arts Commission and the Environmental Quality Commission to attend meetings and cast votes by electronic means.
Mr. Spalding?
Thank you. This is simply using what we believe Robert's Rules of Orders allows us to do and get some momentum, if you will, for these 2 commissions that the Parks and Rec that kind of has transferred over to the Parks and Rec Department. So this would just allow us, especially for the Cultural Arts Commission, we've had a hard time in the last 7 or 8 months getting a quorum there, and we feel like with what we need to do simply to get people involved, this would be a great first step, and so that's why we're asking for this.
Any questions? Thank you. Bills pending, 2017-18.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a $130,365 agreement with Concrete Solution LLC for the Broadway Sidewalk Project.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you, Mayor.
As clerk indicated, sidewalk project, 900 block of Broadway Street. The contract's a little over $130,000 to be paid with CDBG funds, Community Development Block Grant funds, and construct a missing piece of sidewalk in the area near South School.
Any questions or deliberation? Councilman Hussey?
Just for the public's sake, Matt, somebody might look at that and say $130,000 for one block of sidewalk. Are we paving it in gold or something? But I know there's some challenges you work through, so what sort of leads to a cost of $130,000 on that particular one?
Yeah, certainly these are competitive bid, but in this particular instance, there's some retaining wall that would have to be constructed, so that does push up the cost. So it's not just simply as easy as putting a little strip of concrete in. There's probably some curb repair, things of that nature, some drainage items that would need to be included as well.
And I don't mean that to say I'm not supportive. This is
certainly
important. It's going to do good things for
Yes.
South School and those kids to safely walk from the school to where they need to go. But I just know it's a challenging one. So thank you.
Any other questions? Deliberation? Roll call, please.
Graham.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Bill passes. We've taken up number 19, 2017-20.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a Section 5339 capital assistance grant agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you. Again, this is a grant agreement with MoDOT, and it also is the partner bill with the one following this one as well that I'll talk about what it actually does for us. But MoDOT is, again, providing a grant, federal grant for the transit, our transit system. The cost of the entire project, or the entire amount, is $320,000. The federal share is $256,000. And the city share would be $64,000. That share comes from the city's half-cent capital improvement sales tax funds. And basically, we're going to do three things with this grant related to our transit system. It'll be an automatic vehicle locator system, so you'll be able to tell where the bus is from your smartphone or other device. It'll also have a voice enunciation system, which will tell you the next stop coming up, things like that. And then, thirdly, a passenger counter. So it'll automatically count the passengers getting on and off the bus at certain locations, and it'll be referenced on a map. So will help us do a lot more detailed planning on our routes, where people want to go and are getting on. So that is pretty neat stuff. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Deliberation? Roll call, please.
Henry.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Bill passes. 21, Mr. Marash, anything to add?
Yeah, and on this one, this is actually the contract with the vendor that will supply that software for our fleet. But I'd also ask that the sponsor request that the vote be delayed till the July 3rd meeting, so that the protest period for the bids can end on June 23rd.
And that would be Councilman Henry. Are you agreeable?
Motion to extend that, please.
Is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So that will be on the July 3rd agenda. So 2017-22.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for surface transportation program funds.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you again. Another MoDOT agreement out of different pool of money, though. This is our STP Urban Grant Funds, kind of administered through Campo. But there were approximately a little over $93,000 available in that pool, and so the city would like to apply that to a traffic study related to the Clark Avenue interchange. It goes from Hillcrest to Atchison over to McCarty Street through that corridor. That Clark Avenue area was called out in our half-cent capital improvement sales tax, this new one, as a project, and so this would get us started with some grant funds to evaluate the traffic flow and determine what the best solutions are there for improvements. So the next step after this, we're approved, this is the grant agreement, so then there will be a future consultant contract to actually do the study.
Any questions, deliberation? Councilman Schreiber?
I think this is an extremely important project. This study we've discussed several times, the necessity, and it not only includes the neighborhood from McCarty and on Clark Avenue all the way to, I believe, Hillside, goes that far in Atchison and Hillside, but it also would involve perhaps benefit to Lincoln University later on should they ever expand that particular direction. So I encourage support of this study.
I would add one thing, that the study must be completed by May of 2018, so we'll be moving along fairly quickly with it. That's just a grant stipulation.
Any further questions, deliberation? Roll call, please.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kemna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Bill passes. Item 13, the informal. We have 2017-9. Councilman Hussey, what's your desire? Leave it on the informal. Item 14, resolutions, RS 2017-3. Is there a, go ahead.
A resolution authorizing the city administrator to limit enforcement of parking regulations on August 21, 2017.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. And Mr. Moresh, would you give us the explanation?
Certainly, Mayor. Thank you. Like Clerk indicated, limit parking regulations during the Eclipse event. The only thing to be enforced in this area would be bus stops, disabled parking, blocking of sidewalks, crosswalks, no parking areas and loading zones. So our parking staff would be busy kind of helping people find their way and keeping these areas clear.
Any questions? Councilwoman Wiseman?
I'd like to add, we're unsure of how many people are going to be in the city that day. We're expecting a large population, and so the purpose behind this is to eliminate confusion by people out of town and to allow them some nice parking options.
Thank you. We'll also have a presentation about the eclipse at our next meeting on July 3rd. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Kemna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Resolution passes. RS 2017-4.
A resolution authorizing the permissive use of intersection of High and Monroe.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Mr. Moresh?
Thank you. The city, through its regulation, does allow for these type of permissive use and grants permission. This one is related to July 4th event, 2 to 7, at the intersection of High and Monroe. They'll be having basically the beer garden or a beer concession there, and this is part of that process to allow for that. In the past, it's been held at various city facilities such as parking garage, things of that nature.
Any questions, deliberation? Roll call, please.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kemna.
Aye.
Resolution passes. RS 2017-5.
A resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a conditional assignment of purchase agreement relating to the city's purchase of fire apparatus from Rosenbauer, Minnesota, LLC.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Chief Schofield.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As the clerk indicated, this would allow us to make a prepayment to the manufacturer. As you know, there's an extended timeline. By the time these trucks are produced, it'll be about 1 calendar year. So by prepaying, we're able to gain some additional funds, or unencumbersome funds, that we can use to standardize diesel motors amongst the replacement fleet. So currently that money is in a third-party escrow account, and it would stay there if there was no action until the time that the trucks were delivered. we're proposing to prepay, which is a long-standing tradition with fire apparatus, especially with very long delivery timelines like this. So this would allow us to gain a little bit of advantage. There is no change in terms of the payment schedule or the overall amount of equipment that's being secured. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kemna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Item 15, presentations from the gallery on other topics. We have nobody signed up. Item 16, any council and staff discussion of presentation topics. Item 17A, review of demolition of city-owned properties. Discussion of possible action. Any discussion? Councilman Mahalovich?
I think I'd like to entertain a motion for us to extend this, but I'm looking over at council to state that motion. Do I just, would it be just appropriate to make a motion to extend the demolition?
I think that's an appropriate motion, considering it's currently in place.
Since we own these properties and we're not hurting anybody else outside of the city, I would move that we extend the demolition to a period of 90 days. I think that was suggested.
I'll second that.
Any further council discussion, deliberation? So we have a motion and discussion, or in second. Oh, Councilman Prather?
I just wanted to thank our guests tonight for their work. Mrs. Bordner and Mrs. Beadham and Mrs. Smith for all the work that you've done, and its staff for working with them. And I appreciate we're going in the right direction. Hopefully, we can come to a conclusion on this. So thank you very much for coming tonight.
Any further questions or deliberation? Roll call, or do we need roll call on this?
Don't have to.
Why don't we just do it? Roll call, please.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kemna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Motion passes. Councilman Mahalovich?
Also regarding this issue, there are 4 different recommendations made. In my own mind, we had a pretty productive meeting thanks to our administrator, Steve Kroll, who had organized these twice. And I thought I learned a lot, but then I get a little sideways with all these rules, so I'm going to need some help. To me, what FEMA came down with was the resultant of some information we actually gave them. And for them to modify that would result to us to say that the information we gave them wasn't, it's changed or something. And based on our engineering, we had determined that nothing has changed significantly enough to go back to FEMA. So what I guess I need is a little bit of better understanding of how one works together, because we're rewarded some, to put it in layman's terms, by FEMA, by our regulations and enforcement of those regulations in floodplains, and allowed to participate. So I'm kind of a little bit confused how a conservation district might interact with FEMA regulations and our 50% rule. So I think I need a back up on this topic and go forward based on some recommendations, some information that you all have, and especially when it comes to this, what a person can or can't do within a FEMA property, and how its designation in a conservation district would change any of that. Because my understanding was it wouldn't change any of that. So I I guess what I need is clarification on some of these issues. We don't need a motion, just...
No, we can do that. I don't know that we're prepared to do that tonight in a lot of detail, but we can certainly get something, or if you want to have another meeting, we certainly could do that as well, or both, get that information out. But I understand the question. I think we'd get that to you all.
Any further discussion? Item 18, any unfinished business? I have one. Mama, he's crazy. Crazy over me.
Here's a quarter, call someone who cares.
Call someone who cares. Okay, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Thank you. Do we have a roll call?
No.
Thank you.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.